Hey guys, it's Zach back with another review, this time of the Aula Hero68 HE in this pink gradient glory. A 65%, very affordable Hall effect keyboard. We've got the arrow keys, I love to see that. Side printed keycaps, high performance bells and whistles. We've got 128K scan rate, which is definitely all we would need. 8K polling, SOCD, a mod tap, a rapid trigger. It is also hot swappable, and if I'm being honest, my biggest complaint is probably the fact that the USB cable plugs in here on the side, and that doesn't work great from my desk, which is probably not a problem for most. Getting into the build of the keyboard though, it is a mostly plastic case here on the back. There is some aluminum plating here on the side. And then of course this small plate here that describes the board on the back. Hello. We've got these nicely rubberized support feet here. No adjustable height there. Decent profile for typing by default. Just a little bit of flex back and forth here if you're looking for it. But overall, it's been a well-built keyboard in my usage and experience. And with that, let's jump into the keycaps and the switches. Keycaps here being not the cherry profile. We've got the MDA profile keycaps here with that sort of swooping sort of basin on the top. To me, sort of a very different feel for typing, one that I did not enjoy on my previous experience, but did not feel nearly as bad on this keyboard, if I'm being honest with you. Which, let's be honest, I'm always honest with you, right? Pop one of these double shot PBT keycaps off here. A little bit of that texture on the top. I don't really have a lot to say about keycaps. I will say in use a little bit loud on the top out, but that's a sort of combination of the whole board along with a keycap. The switch itself, the black King switch, fail, has a actually comically large, very nicely boxed stem here. Sort of a cool aesthetic here with the black and yellow. Pretty similar sound here, bottoming out and also topping out, but a seemingly well-made switch for what it's worth, and we'll talk more about how it felt in use here shortly. Relatively stable here at the top as well as at the bottom. Not a lot of wobble at any point of the travel. Taking a peek under the spacebar that comes off quite easily, does not pull the switch out. No issues at all with the stabilizers, very nicely lubed, and a couple dampening strips here below the spacebar, which does end up having a little bit of a hollow sound you'll hear later in the sound test. With that, let's take a look at the lighting here, and again, this left aligned USB port. Pretty vibrant if I'm being honest, and of course this very nice large light strip here on the top. The colors on this really do pop, especially how they come through these side printed keycaps. A very bright, while also deep feeling rainbow color here on the base RGB that I have turned on right now. Bleeds nicely around the keycaps, gives a very nice effect. Nothing to complain about if you're looking for bright, vibrant lighting and RGB on your keyboard. But of course, it's everyone's favorite time. Let's hit that sound test. So as I stated earlier, advertised as thocky, I would say it's definitely loud. There's a bit of a clack aspect to the thock, not the purest thock that I've heard. Again, definitely if you're looking for a quieter to average sounding keyboard, you're probably not gonna look for this. If you like that loud sound that really just matches the feel of the keyboard, I guess, this gives you that very loud sound. Not as loud as like the iRock MG75 Pro. The translucent keycaps, I'll probably never stop talking about that keyboard because I can still hear it in my sleep. Not an offensive sound to me, like it didn't bother me in use, but one you're definitely going to hear. We do have a WebDriver for this keyboard. It is the Aula Hub, the Hero68 HE. The software is not terrible by any means, but it's not like the most impressive. As you can see here, it's not like super well formatted, for example. Not like the prettiest buttons for lighting. I did have Flowers Bloom on it at the max brightness, so you did get to see the max RGB brightness. There's a standard 1 to 1.2. I had 1mm actuation for a majority of the keys on the board, and then turn down, sure why it's not showing in the diagram up here, because I was playing back and forth, the WASD to the absolute minimum settings. As you can see here, 0.1 actuation, 0 dead zone, 0.01 a rapid trigger, 8,000 hertz polling rate. Currently restarts the board should you change it. I never did. Apparently a software bug here because this did update the actuation to 0.1, but it does not show the rapid trigger going down to 0.01, even though you can see it is down here below in the software. Trigger off, turn it back on, and there it is updated in the UI. Happy to report with these absolute minimum actuation settings here, there was no issues with sort of like hover presses. Felt plenty responsive in game. Is this a top performing keyboard? I don't know. I don't do the actual latency testing, but it felt perfectly fine to me. Did not really hold me back in game as far as the performance goes. And overall, I was pleased with the feel of the keyboard and typing. Didn't have any double presses on any of these keys or the whole keyboard when I flipped it all to minimum settings. No random actuations, just with the board sitting there or bumping my desk. So none of the glaring issues that I personally look for when I do keyboard reviews. We can see here we have some presets from other pro gamers that you can set on by default. Did not mess around with that. You can also do some key remapping, and then here we have the SOCD. You can see I have on A and D already with the standard setting that I always use. I had no issues with this at all. Shaft calibration should you need to if you're swapping swapping out those hot swappable switches, macro settings, and that's about it for the software. So one of my overall impressions of this board, it's a well-performing board for me. No like glaring issues in any of the games that I was playing. No accidental actuations. Does not really feel cheap. Not like a super premium board, but for $60 on Amazon, if you like the colorways, I really couldn't fault you for picking this up. It seems to be a pretty good value, particularly if you like any of the aesthetics of the different keycap sets. And do beware, different colors do come with different switches. Or if you're a huge fan of this top light, which honestly looks pretty cool, especially if it fits the look and feel of your whole desk, then of course, no problem saying you can go for this keyboard. Anything that performs fine, it doesn't feel like a cheap piece of crap, and it costs $60 as far as Hall effect, I'm pretty much okay with, unless I find any massively glaring issues that will not make a difference for a majority, if not all gamers. We're not pros here. And then before I forget, I will give you some quick specs on the Black King switch I forgot to earlier. Trigger force of 33 plus or minus 5 GF, bottoms out at 53 plus or minus 5 with a total travel of 3.4 millimeters for some quick basic stats. But yep, overall, again, a very solid keyboard here, a step up in quality from their Win68 itchy, which I also tested, 65%, so it's something I could main if I wanted to, with the 4 arrow keys here, as well as the delete key, and overall, a solid offering. Please subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video. You can follow me on X at DasherTech, check out the Mousecast podcast, as well as my peripheral Discord server, and with that, we'll see you.